Alright, so what we're going to do, just to restate how to insert a block, we are going over, and I'm off the wrong section, so let me get over back to my R drive. Sorry, oops, wrong one. ECG, resources, student resources, class activities. Don't forget this path is on your Google Classroom. It's posted right up against the wall. DXF. I was looking for DWGs. So there we go. So we're going to click on D, open that, and I'm just going to go ahead and place this on 0, 0, 0 as my insertion point. Double click my scroll button, and there's the problem. So the very first thing I'm going to do is explode this, because right now it's a block. So if I move one view, I move them all. Okay, so I want to explode this, and it's going to break these into individual parts. So first things first, you need to make sure that you have a dimension layer, and you want to make sure that we have our settings set correctly. For some odd reason, I've changed this one. Make sure that's on default, hit OK, and that should be the settings for the dimension layer. And make sure that your dimension layer is current as you're going through the dimensioning. So yesterday we talked about the order in which you select your dimensions. So remember that when you select your dimensions, you want the one that's closest to where the dimension is going to be located to be the last point you select. So you want to pick this one here and then pick this one, and in that way when you start dragging the dimension, it's going to be dragging along that line, and you're going to be looking to type that into 0.625. I have my snap set to 1/8 of an inch, so you can already see that my snap is just going to go to that point, and I'm just going to snap that. The units is off. 4 decimal places, so that's one thing that we talked about changing. So I'm going to type in D, enter, to get to my dimension style manager, and I'm going to go through and make sure that I fix my primary units set to 2 decimal places. While I'm here, just want to make sure that the dimension of the line past the dimension line is 1/8 of an inch. Your arrows should be 1/8 of an inch. Your text size should be 1/8 of an inch. And if you make this change to your A-size title block, you will not have to change this every single time. So that's what my dimensions should look like. So I've pulled that dimension up there. The order of operation, remember, does make a difference to where also the text lands after you're done. So if I pick this side first and then this side and drag it up, I'm just going to line it up right there. That text is going to go over to the right side. If I did this side and then this side, the text goes over to the left side. All right, so it's important that you understand that. Now I'm going to just pull the overall dimension, and that's going to be at 1 inch away from the part. So with the object snap there on, it's just automatically set and click into it. So it saves me just a little bit of time when I'm dimensioning this. And oops, not 875, 625. First dimension, pick the second dimension. I'm going to just line this one up with that one, and then the overall dimension I'm going to place right here, 1 inch away from that part. Oh, that's not 1 inch. It doesn't matter. I can fix that. So 1 inch over, pick this dimension, move it over, and erase the line that we've got there, and that's what you should end up with. All right, so that dimensions everything. Remember, we're leaving the one dimension open because we have to abide by the rule where it says don't complete the chain. If we complete the chain, then we mess up and we have this thing over toleranced. Okay, so we don't want to have that extra dimension in there. So leave one out. Your instructions have been dimensioning the actual part right now and not the empty space to kind of help you along. Now, the next thing here, we've got to put the width of the depth of this part. Is it going to be either here on this view or this view? And you can pick either one, but not both. Now, when this happened, and we were dimensioning this, we found that this drawing was a little too wide. So we're going to fix this, and then we're going to pick and choose what dimension we want. So that's why we're doing this today, is to start looking at the stretch command. The stretch command allows us to stretch like an endpoint or a group of endpoints in a specific distance. So I can type in like 3, and it's going to stretch that endpoint 3 inches. Or I can stretch an endpoint to a specific location. So I can use like my object snaps and say that, hey, I want to stretch this endpoint from here to maybe that endpoint. Okay, so it just allows you to stretch with a given distance. The little grip boxes also allow you to stretch as well. Okay, so you can also specify a dimension when you're working with a single line. However, we can also pick these and stretch, but it doesn't group everything together. All right, so we're going to use the stretch command so it groups everything together. But you can use the grips for stretch as well. So moving on to the stretch command. The stretch works off of a crossing window. So I always start to the upper right hand corner of whatever I want to stretch and start a crossing window. So I'm going to cross over everything that I want to change the value. So I want this, all of those 4 lines, I want to shorten by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, click on that, okay, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to just pick a base point, which could be anywhere, and I'm just going to move my mouse down. My ortho is locked in, so therefore it's not going to go off at an angle, but I'm just going to type in 0.5, and it's going to shorten everything by 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's the easy way to make a modification to your drawing. At some point in time, some of you may have drawn something a little too big, and I've come by and helped you stretch. Stretch does let you use like the little this little box right here with the crossing polygon. You can stretch like some odd geometry and not have to pick everything with the rectangle box, but the rectangle box does make it easy, like if you're trying to stretch something like as a whole unit, and it moves together. I use the stretch a lot in architectural drawing, like if I want to just change maybe like one wall and move it out and not have like all of the lines picked. So that is the stretch command. That kind of finishes up this part right here. We only need to have that 1.25 on one of the views. And so I'm just going to leave it at the right side view. And that's it.